What's up, guys? Today I figured I'd do a video on PCP rifles. So we'll talk about this rifle for a little bit in case you're interested in it, and then we'll get on to the ins and outs of some stuff that you need to know. First of all, it's a Benjamin Armada. It has a Picatinny rail here. Comes with two side covers that can come off. Comes with two smaller Picatinny rails that you can mount here or here. Comes with a bipod, and it's actually a good bipod. Something I do want to say, the screw here, this mounts in the front, pointing towards the barrel, not in the back. And the reason for that is the bipod legs, when you're pushing the gun forward, if you mount it the opposite way, these legs can collapse on you, even though they're pretty heavy springs. But there's, stops right here. There is another plastic rail that mounts under here, because this bipod comes all the way out here, and for this table it doesn't fit. So you simply take that off. I removed it, and I'm not really a big fan of them plastic things anyway. And all this does, it has two pins that when you turn this, it squeezes into the sling. And you can, use the Picatinny rail to mount one of these too. Moving back here, we have the breech with our Picatinny rail mounted here. Comes with a 4x16 scope, 50mm objective, and a shade cover. These days used to have flip-up covers. Comes with your bikini cover. A lot of people complain about this grip. There's nothing wrong with it. It's a very good AR style grip. It is mil-spec, so it can be interchanged. The buffer tube, the buttstock, is also mil-spec, can be interchanged. If you haven't seen my other video, a lot of people complain about stock movement. Simple piece of Gorilla Tape, cut 1 inch long to the length of the tube where you want it set. Fixes that issue right away. So over here you have your bolt. Simply lift up, and you're going to pull it back. Like so. And before I pull it all the way back, I do want to show there is this little piece here. So you have to really pull it back to hear it cock. Once it's cocked, when you put the magazine in, you got to make sure that pin's there. The flat, it just slides right in here, and over on this side you can hear that click. It does take some force. These need to be worked in, as well as the bolt. Then it's a simple matter of pushing the bolt forward, and as you can see, it's not going to go forward. The reason for that is when the magazine is empty, that piece you saw stick out here hits here. So kind of hard to do with one hand, but there is a little D-dent right here. And then you go ahead, rotate this, and as you can see, there's a spring in there. You kind of just clockwise rotate it. There's another D-dent which will hold that. There is a clear hole right through there. You put your finger under there. You take, with the clear side up, you take the head of the pellet and you drop it in. Now you'll have to have your finger there. Then you start filling each one. So you'll move to this spot, and you'll drop another pellet in, and I am not going to make you sit here and watch that whole process. So once you got that filled, you simply lock that D-dent, and then you would go ahead and slide that in there, which I'm not going to do because this is pressurized. The gun comes unpressurized, and I can't say for everyone else's gun, but I got the 2 auto compressor. It's the A1X Pro. It took 7 minutes to fill. Temperature got up around the high 30s Celsius. And the other thing I did was I chose to keep my this is a 30 mil tube. It's not a 1-inch, by the way. So the scope rings that come with it, I don't like them. You know, they're junk to me. So sent the other scope back off my brake barrel Black Ops rifle, which I will say the springers, at least for the Black Ops, just start shooting itself apart, shaking itself apart. The top shroud, it loosened the Picatinny rail twice, and then after that it start cracking the stock inside where there's 2 supports, and then even the bolt that went down through the shroud before you put the Picatinny rail on it, you can see my disassembly video of that start backing out. It started to strip. It was just a piece of shit gun. I wouldn't recommend, honestly, a Springer. I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me, and I don't really give a shit, but I'm calling it the way it is. The Springers are, I don't care if you're using the artillery hold or whatever. You can say what you want about pellet choosing and this and that. I shot several different pellets through here. I haven't had to adjust the screw or the windage, the elevation, or anything like that. However, on the Springer, yeah, and that didn't hold groups at all. Buy what you want, it's your money. In the end, I would never buy a Springer again. Getting back to these rings, these are CV Life rings. They're supposed to be torqued up here to 18 inch-pounds, and down here they do have the torque head. They're like, you know, $19.99. And then down here, these are torqued to 30 inch-pounds. This does have a built-in silencer. You got 7 cone-shape things with a spring back here. The Donnie suppressor, it looks cool, but you know, for 150, 180, 200 bucks, he could keep it. I'm not buying that. It's ridiculous. I'll make a full one if I want. With this bolt, after 500 rounds, you're going to want to use some Mollygraph grease. You could get it at Harbor Freight. It's pretty cheap. And then after every 500 shots, you're going to want to take a Q-tip, put some silicone oil, which I just use silicone treadmill oil, and you rub it on the O-ring. When you get this gun, what you have to do, being if there's no pressure in it, or any PCP gun for that matter, you pull the bolt, you cock it back, and then you push the bolt forward and down. Then you can go ahead and start filling with your compressor. And the way you do that is, at least on this one, you'll turn counterclockwise, take this off, reveals a Foster connector, and this is 8mm on this rifle. So we'll take our hose and we'll hook that up here. As you can see there's about a little less than 2,500 psi. So this one operates between 2,000 and 3,000 psi. Set up out of the factory, it's 3,000 psi. You don't want to go above that. You could go down to 1,000 psi, between 30-35 shots. I was told from the manufacturer, you know, only operate it from 2,000 to 3,000 psi, but I found you could go to 1,000. In the owner's manual it says that as well. Topping it off when you get down to 2,000 or 1,000, well, 2,000 psi, it only took a minute to fill it up. When you're storing this, you want to make sure that there is some air left in the gun. So I would take it down to about the middle of the yellow. So under here you have your reticle, relief adjustment, whatever you want to call it. Here you have your 3 to 16. I have it currently set on 9. These are locking turrets. So down here, if you unscrew that, then you can turn the up and down your elevation. Same thing over here. You have a locking turret. You unscrew it, and then you can adjust the windage. Then you just snug those back up. No need to over tighten it. This does come with parallax. They call it side focus. It's really not side focus, it's parallax. If you don't know what that is, check out my other video with the Black Ops. It explains all of that. Alright, so another important thing is if you ever want to decock this when you're done shooting, you'll bring the bolt back, and then you'll hold this bolt back And you got to make sure you're holding it back, and then you take it off safe and pull the trigger. Release the bolt, push it forward, down, and now the gun is safe. Put the safe on and you're ready for storage. Alright, so filling this. You got your compressor, you got the gun. Now you're going to take the hose. Again, these are 8mm. So you pull back on this and then you just push this and then that clicks. Make sure it's secure. And then you take this end and you go ahead and put it on the front of this. And you make sure that's locked. So now you have your hose and your gun all ready. Now your bleed valve down here, right here, you're gonna open that. Now as soon as I plug this power in, the fan is gonna kick on. What you wanna do is you wanna make sure that this gauge doesn't go beyond, we'll get a better shot of that there. You don't want that going above 20 because 20 bar is actually 200 bar, but that's 3000 PSI. So once we plug this in, that fan over there is going to kick on. And once that fan kicks on, there's a temperature gauge back here, which I wish they would have put it up here like on the AX or A1X. It's hard to see here because you're watching temperature here. You don't want this to get above 80 Celsius and you don't want that to go over 20, and you want to be checking the gun at 3000 PSI. And you might say to yourself, wow, that's a lot. It sounds like a lot, but you can do it. The fan will kick on, then we'll kick the compressor on and we'll close that bleed valve, and we'll just keep an eye on this and periodically look over at that. Alright, so you can clearly hear the fans running. We're going to reach around here and you can hear the compressor is started. It is 24.9 Celsius. Now you will simply close the bleed valve. And you'll have your finger on the switch to the compressor. You don't want to go beyond that 20. Gonna do it. You can see that one up to 29.5. You're gonna leave your compressor run for 3 to 5 minutes. Take a look at the gun pressure now. Alright, so you can see that's 3000 PSI. If you overcharge this down there, which, I mean, you're better off just firing it if you have the Armada. If you have the Marauder, you just put a degassing tool in there that Crossman sells and you can let it out. But if it's just a little bit over, just, you know, continue to dry fire it. It's not going to hurt the gun. Back over here, what you're going to do before you disconnect anything is you're going to quickly open that relief valve. Now, say you shut that off a little too early and you noticed it. Before you start this compressor back up, make sure the bleed valve is open. You hit the compressor on and then you re-tighten this bleed valve, and you don't need to over-tighten that. Then that puts less strain on the compressor and you won't be breaking your compressors. After you unscrew that, you can safely remove this because there's no longer 3000 psi here. You disconnect it from there, and I left that run real time so you guys see how fast that filled from 2500 or thereabouts to 3000 with this compressor. Now you can see after the compressor with the fan is running, it came down. All right, so another note is before you leave this cool down, you're gonna turn the compressor back on with the bleed valve opened. Then you're gonna close the bleed valve and you're gonna place your finger over and then pull it off. That's gonna purge all, if any, water that's inside the compressor, and it's gonna help your compressor not get corroded. And then after that, just open the relief valve, shut the compressor off, and after that cooled down, all you're gonna do is just unplug it. And you're gonna go shoot whatever you're gonna shoot, and then top it off. And I wouldn't run this in the sun. I wouldn't fill the gun in the sun or anything. I do it in some type of shade or whatever, because air does expand in hotter weather, so you got to keep your eye on the gauges. All right, so Amazon decided to finally show up. Been having a problem with them lately. That's another story. Anyway, I got my filter here. I figured I'll include this. Now before I talk about this filter, the ones that you see that are like a foot long and they cost $79.99, $100, something like that on Amazon. Some of them come with, giant cotton swabs like this. You got to remember, you got a little compressor. That compressor has to fill up that whole filter. So you're filling 3 guns up or thereabouts, and your gun. And can you leave it pressurized? No, not really. You got to bleed that compressor off. Now, there are more expensive ones that are the same size, but they're $299.99, something like that, $400. And there was one particular guy on YouTube that I messaged him, or I commented on his video, and I said, you got to pressurize that. You're overworking that little compressor. The difference between his, I will say this, it has the cartridge, but it has a space down here, and then it has a bleed off, and that's for water collection. Because if you don't have that and you buy one off of Amazon and you're filling that entire thing up, there's nowhere for that water to go except in here, like so. Just the same thing, only it's bigger. It's going to absorb more water. That's it. So the $300, $400 filter going to do a much better job at cleaning your air of moisture and oil and stuff like that. But on the same hand, those big ones are still overworking the compressor. And I forget what he commented. Oh, he said, you do know you can leave that pressurized. Yeah, but you're still filling, 3 times the amount plus your gun. And then you can't keep that pressurized, for long-term storage. So you're going to have to do it again. That puts a lot of work on the compressor. You're going to wear them compressors out. This type is more than sufficient. Here's a little cigarette filter that's inside of here. And if we take a look in here, it's just a bigger housing. That's it. However, some of them you got to watch because it has a 1/4-inch felt ring. So just picture it like that. And it's sitting at the bottom. And then this little cigarette one goes in to the top piece like so. And then that screws together. So if you imagine you have a little piece of this down here, you have all that space, this is going to blow out. It ain't going to do nothing. At least with this one, you stick this in like so. You push it down to the bottom. And yes, this does touch. Imagine that being tightened together. They must have changed the O-rings on these because some people were saying that they were splitting out, and the one guy did have a picture. Basically, they're the same as the blue ones, and these you can buy. I don't know if they're 5/8 or 3/4, My index finger fits snugly in here, so I'm going to venture to say maybe 3/4. I don't know. But anyway, this screws on here. The blue one seemed to have maybe 2 or 3 more threads on it. This simply screws together like so. You tighten that down. And again, I see so many guys taking this end and connecting it over here to the gun. No. You want all the moisture and the oil, and I don't care what the user's manuals say. I've been around this shit all my life. You make sure that's locked on there, and this is where it's going to capture everything. You take this filter as a double one, put this on, and I mean, I've seen guys taking, you know, half a dozen of these and sticking them together. All they're doing is putting more on this little compressor. This should be sufficient, and these cottons will dry out. You can dry them out, and eBay or Amazon has like 50 of them for $19.99, and then you simply plug this right back onto the gun, and you follow the same procedure, only now you have a cigarette filter, a bigger filter, and then another cigarette one, and then it connects over here to the gun. Very important to know. And then you'll do the same thing with the bleed off after you reach your desired bar or PSI. You unscrew that, it depressurizes all of this, then you disconnect that, and you can just disconnect this, and then you'll start the compressor up again, tighten that, and you'll purge the system. Let's take a look now at some of the some of the shots I did compared to the Springer in that tree log. Alright, so this is the log I was shooting with the Black Ops Springer, and also the PCP. So in this area right here is where I was shooting with the PCP, so you can see how much tighter of a group, although I was shooting in different spots here. But the point of this is 3000 PSI penetrates this log as well as that Springer did. Hopefully the camera will give you some perspective on that. Okay, so I figured I'll do some sound decibels. I'm not gonna use my meter or anything, but we'll just stand off to the right and you can hear how loud it is. It's very quiet, a lot quieter than the Black Ops. We're at 35 yards, so I got a target set up downrange. You can see that one, and then to the left of it is some steel. So the first shot you can see, let's take a walk down. I was aiming here, I hit here. So that's the first shot right out of the box. Windage was right on. I was about 5 inches low, and I brought the elevation up. So it took me literally 5 shots to sight this in. So let's see what the steel sounds like getting hit with this pellet. All right, so some steel. Kind of shooting off on an angle here too. Same spot every time. This thing will definitely shoot out 100 yards, no problem. And yes, that one I did go high because I was aiming high. That's 10. They go quick. Alright, so there's the target, and you can see where each pellet was hitting. I really wasn't focusing like I was over there on the paper. I just wanted to see how hard this hit. And yeah, it hits hard. So the last shot I took was here. Hopefully the camera's seeing where each pellet hit. and that was pretty, quickly done. So you can clearly hear, it's very, very quiet. Much more quiet than the Black Ops. The other thing I'm going to say is the Marauder and the Armada are the same exact gun. This comes right from the tech department at Crossman. So if anyone else, because I did read a comment that said, save your money and I'm going to, get the Marauder because it comes with a better barrel. No, it's the same damn gun. The only thing different is the stock. So if you're like me and you like the tactical look, get this one. Considering the scope is going to cost you, it's probably $110 scope, bipod's $20, and until all said and done, you're going to have probably about 605, I figured it out to be. So another $50 or whatever. You can get this one. I know Pyramid Air and all of them are, way, way up there, like $829 and shit like that. And the other thing I will mention is this is unregulated. They have unregulated and regulated PCP rifles. The difference between them is your regulated shot. If you're looking at a graph, the regulated is going to give you a much more consistent per shot, flat, like line going across. This one has more of a curve, so there's a sweet spot in it. But anyone that says that the newer PCP guns, being these are older, are better and they're light years ahead, they're really not. It's all hype. And you're talking about these pellet guns. It's mind-blowing how much hype is into them. And when you're talking about real firearms, you can buy real firearms and ammo a hell of a lot cheaper than you can buy these things. So for backyard plinking, I can shoot regular firearms right here. But this is something I wanted to get into. And just be aware, because I seen, some of them going for $2,300, which is that's fucking crazy. I would never pay that for a pellet gun. And these people that will have you believe different, they're screwballs. That's my opinion. Say what you want, but that's my opinion.